Welcome to Inspired Conversations, Living the Legacy with Legends. My name is Onkarabile Wisdom Mokoto, and I am your host. Each and every one of us have a purpose in this life. The greatest achievement of a human being is to know and live that purpose. If a pencil does not do its purpose, it makes a ruler, a rubber, a paper useless. The author, rather, the speaker of those words is with me today on the show to discuss more about purpose. Absheni,
Aye.
minjani?
Yebukile minjani?
Hayi, sikongisho namathemba. That's where I end. All right, welcome to the show, Mixo Rikhotso. You are very welcome. Let's just start from the beginning and know who are you? Who is Mixo Rikhotso?
Thank you so much, my leader Onkarabile. Mixo Rikhotso is a bundle of joy to Zakan Joyce Rikhotso and Isaac Rikhotso, all the way from Kabungeni, Kanjakanjaga. I'm a sister to Rito Lulama and a friend, a colleague, a preacher, and maybe in years to come I'll be someone's wife, someone's mother, and all that. But for now, I'm just a friend, and yeah. Many people know me for speaking, others for being a comedian, for singing. So it depends on which season you met me at. Someone can say, no, she's a serious person. Someone can say, she's very funny. It depends on how you have met me. But yeah, I'm a friend. I'm a child of God. And I'm here today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
and I mean, okay, so you've said that many people know you do a lot of things, but I think the one that, okay, or maybe it's me who knows you, is the preacher, you know, yeah. Mixo Rikhotso, the preacher, yes. Just tell me about, because nowadays I've seen this, trending. You'll hear people say, okay, Onkarabile Mokoto, the psalmist, Machipi, the writer, the speaker. So we're not the preacher. Where does it come from?
Okay, it started in 2014. It was a youth conference. I was sharing the stage with B.R. Maluman and Pastor Mageza. So I was the first one who was opening the stage. So when they came, they were like, no, Mixo started preaching, Mixo the preacher. So we took the name from that point. And then we were just playing, though. Whenever we say Mixo the preacher. So somehow people tend to adopt to the name and use it. And now I feel comfortable to say, hi, my name is Mixo Rikhotso, a.k.a. the preacher. It feels like it's my name in a way. And I feel comfortable being called that name other than Mixo the comedian. Okay, I can do comedy, but I'm not comfortable being called the comedian. So I'm more comfortable with being called the preacher. Because I feel it matches my purpose. I'm called to preach to others. So whenever you say it, you provoke the preacher in me.
Talking about purpose, you have a movement called Powered by Purpose. What inspired you to, can you just tell more about Powered by Purpose? What inspired you and what it's all about?
Okay, I've realized one thing, that there's more to life than a job, there's more to life than a degree, there's more to life than being in a relationship, there's more to life than anything. If you can have it all and you haven't discovered your purpose, you haven't lived. So life can bring you down, but there's one thing that can bring you back up, which is purpose. So we are powered by purpose because that's the only thing that really unleashes the reason why we live. You can lose your money, you can lose your job, but you cannot lose your purpose. You can always bounce back to your purpose. Even when life pulls you down, purpose will pick you up. You are not your titles, but you are your purpose. So you need to find who you are so you can be fueled every day by that purpose to fulfill it daily.
Before maybe we discuss about how can you discover your purpose, because it seems to me that we have had a lot of speakers telling us about purpose. We have read a lot of books telling us about purpose. but it seems as if it's a challenge for one to discover their purpose. But before we discuss about that, briefly, when you say purpose, everyone is born for a purpose. What is a purpose?
A purpose is the reason why something is created. So for us to know what is purpose concerning each and every one of us for our existence, you cannot ask me about your purpose. You'll have to ask God, the one who created you, when he created you. He created purpose first, and then he needed a container to be able to carry that purpose. That's why you were created. When he says to Jeremiah, I knew you before I even formed you, there was purpose before the person was formed. So God has purpose in his heart before you were released. So when you want your purpose, you don't ask the next person, but you ask God. Yes, another person can help you to unleash your purpose, but it is God ordained for you to have your own God-given purpose.
Okay. So a purpose is the reason why something exists.
Yes.
Can maybe give an examples about that, just
Okay.
for one to understand.
The purpose of food is to nourish the body. Without food, you won't be able to be strengthened to function properly. So the purpose, my purpose, is to give people a message. So for me to fulfill that purpose, I can be speaking, I can be writing books, I can be writing songs, but as long as the message is getting out there. So the purpose of a knife is to cut, but someone can use it to butter the bread. It's still okay. The purpose of a sound speaker is to amplify sound. For you to know how it operates, you have to go to its manual and understand which button to press, how to connect it to the power. So a sound speaker cannot function without electricity. So even if you know your purpose, you need to be connected to the source, whom is God, to be able to function properly.
So is it how, I think you have answered the question of discovery. Does it also fall under how to discover your purpose?
You discover your purpose by going to God. You ask God. We have made so many prayer points to God. God, give me a husband. God, give me this. Give me a job. But I don't think we have prayed, God, reveal my purpose to me. Why was I born? What is it that you want me to do in this world? Because we find ourselves defining ourselves by our jobs, and when you lose your job, you don't know who you are anymore because you no longer have a job. Or you define yourself based on your marriage, and when you lose your marriage, you don't know who you are because it had failed. But purpose cannot fail. You are your purpose, whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter where you were born. That purpose will find a way to win when you seek to discover who you are.
Okay. So going back to God and asking him to guide us about our purpose, is it the only way of one discovering, or do you have any maybe signs or some things that can actually lead you towards your purpose?
God can use anything to lead you towards your purpose. We cannot discover our purpose outside God. He can use other people. There are environments that can help you to unleash your purpose. For example, say maybe you are a speaker, but you don't know. Because where you have been exposed to, there were no speakers. But one day you attended a conference and you find someone speaking, and inside you there's that thing that, no man, I want to be like him, I want to be like her. And then you approach that person and you say, can you help me develop myself as a speaker? And you find yourself. The problem is you cannot find yourself doing nothing. You have to be doing something. It's easy to control a moving car. You can tell it to turn left or right, but if it's stationary, you won't know whether it can turn left or right. So sometimes you have to find yourself doing so many things, and later that's when you discover that, no man, I was all over, but what God has called me to do is this thing.
That's the question that I wanted to go to, and ask, how will you know that you're not doing, because you have made example about food, that the purpose of food is to nourish our body,
Yes.
right? Now, how will one know that? Because I'm alive, right? I'm alive. So, but how will I know that I'm not doing my purpose?
You might not know at that stage, but the day you really discover your purpose, you would know. For example, if you can start off by singing, there are many people who started off by singing any music. but they found themselves that I'm relevant when I sing gospel music. Even if I have a good voice, it's not good for, say, maybe R&B. And there's nothing wrong with R&B, but it's not what you were called for. So when it's really your purpose, you'll easily flow in it. There's some things that you will struggle doing because it's a sign that you don't really fit properly in them.
So is it always where you can struggle and not and find out that it's not your purpose? I mean, for example, I normally watch this talent show episode and stuff programs, and you'll hear the judges telling someone, say, no, forget about music. It's not your thing. You understand? And someone will cry and stuff. But when you read some of the successful people, they will tell you that, my teacher told me that I'll never be a speaker. But that person today is a well-known speaker.
Yes.
So is it always where maybe you will struggle that you realize that's not your purpose? Or sometimes it happens that maybe you need some just coaching and mentoring. Is it always that when you struggle, you know that that's not my purpose?
Okay, the way you are defining struggle, it sounds as if you just lack the skill to be better at it. When you stand there and you sing out of tune, that's not a struggle. It's a sign that you have tried. You are failing to go to the next stage because you are not fit enough or you are not attuned to go to the next stage. So that's not really struggling. It's just a sign that you are not competent yet. So you need to work yourself. You need to work harder. You need to train harder. You need to, if it means to download videos, watch how to do it if you don't have a mentor. Because sometimes we struggle by having mentors because people are busy. They can't make time for you the whole day to train you, but you have to go an extra mile, find books that you can read that can help you become better. So that's not really a struggle. When you fail at that stage, it's a sign that it's feedback that you have tried, yes, but you are not fit. Adjust yourself to fit within what you are trying to do. So when it comes to that, that is talent. Talent is easy to discover, more especially a talent of singing. You can be singing in the shower and someone will hear and say, no, you can sing. And if it's dancing, people can see you dancing in front and they say, yes, you can dance. But purpose it's hidden sometimes. You may not be a singer or a dancer that people can say, nah, you are good at that. But there are things that people can say you are good at, say maybe giving an advice. You talk to a person, you're not even aware, and they're like, no, man, the way you put things, the way you put words, it makes sense. So that's a sign, and you have to take note of it to say, if they're saying I speak in a good way, how can I package myself to be maybe a certified speaker or a certified counselor or a certified advisor? In most cases, we are quick to take the negative that people say, and we allow that negative that have been said about us to bury that which was on the inside of us. It's easy for you to believe someone when they say, no, you can't sing. But when many people are saying, hey, you can sing, you'll be like, you guys are playing with me. No, you are joking. You find it difficult to take positive words from people. But when they're saying negative things, you'll even go home. You can even spend the next 10 years of your life thinking about how bad you sounded when people said you can't sing. So sometimes when people say we can't sing, maybe they have a hearing problem. Not always the case. All I'm trying to say is that let us try to be positive. It's like when someone says you are ugly. I'm not ugly. The way your vision is ugly. So you see ugly things. So try to be positive in all means and adjust yourself and do your best. Self-introspection. And say maybe you are giving a presentation and people will comment on it. You also have to go back home and look at yourself and listen maybe to the audio or watch the video again and see how you can improve and become better. There's always room for improvement. Yeah. And many people who have been successful, they were successful because they were trying to prove the people who said they can't wrong. Yeah. So sometimes you can use that as motivation to prove to them that, you know what, I can sing. And I will use them as a testimony that they've helped me to become the person that I am.
That was actually the purpose of,
If they clapped their hands, I wouldn't have stretched myself this further. Yeah. So sometimes you can use that negativity to bring the positive.
You know, that issue that you are touching on is very good, though it's sensitive. I want us to take that angle. Okay. Sometimes you'll find out that people are saying, okay, you were doing something. For example, let's talk about profession. I know one author that I once interviewed on my show. He was doing a BSc, electrical engineering, and then he changed because he discovered that was not his purpose. Then he did social work. Now, someone will say, okay, it was not my purpose. My purpose was for me to do social work. Along the way, they will say, it was actually the purpose of God for me to do BSc so that I can discover that is not my purpose. that sometimes it seems as if it's tricky. Can you maybe elaborate on that? How does that thing work?
God, he unfolds these stages in different ways. Sometimes you have to start at point A to get to point G. Let me give you an example. There was a lady who was doing teaching at school, started with her groups, her peers. So she failed one subject, which was Afrikaans. So they passed and they got their degree and they started working. So Afrikaans made her to study until a PhD. That was not the plan. But because she was failing Afrikaans, she was registering other modules, still repeating Afrikaans, other modules, still repeating Afrikaans. But now when she stands, she understands that she had to fail Afrikaans for her to get to PhD. Had she passed in record time, she would have relaxed and said, no, I have a job, I'm fine, I wouldn't study further. So sometimes you have to go through those channels. See, you cannot use my measuring tape to determine your purpose. We all have our journey. My journey is my journey. We might be called as speakers, but what you experience or how life exposes you may be different. And it is different because we are wired differences. Every experience that you experience matters. You may not understand now, but in years' time, you'll understand why you had to start being a security guard, why you had to be in the admin. When now you start your own company, you understand that I needed that experience to be able to manage well where I am now. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. Some people can just grow like Josiah. He was a king at 8. Someone will be a king at 80. So you did not fail, you just took a longer route, and it's fine. That's your journey. You don't have to blame yourself or measure yourself with other people. That's the problem when you start comparing how others are successfully making it. Someone can just study one course and they're on their purpose, and you are doing maybe 4 or 5 things, and still you are lost. And then at the end of the day, you find who you are. You realize you are not even supposed to go to school. Wow.
On the same note, you were there during MHI's October project last year. And then one speaker said, your profession is not your purpose. So I want us to talk about profession versus purpose. Is it really true that sometimes your profession is not your purpose?
Your job is there to nourish your pocket. But your purpose nourishes the heart of God, that even if you don't get paid for it, you are fulfilled. There's something that is higher than your salary. You need your job to be able to pay your bills, to pay for the clothes you wear, for everything. Actually, you need your job to sponsor your purpose. At some time, yeah. So sometimes it's good when your purpose becomes a business. Like something that can generate an income for you.
I wanted to go that. I wanted to ask you, can purpose pay the bills?
Yeah, at some point it can.
How?
It depends which one.
How? Maybe an example. How can the purpose pay my bills?
Say, for example, there are speakers, there are people who are paid for speaking. And there are people who are not paid for speaking.
Okay, why others are not paid while others are paid?
I don't know. I really don't know, because say for example, it's a wedding or it's a funeral. Someone can be invited as a speaker and be paid there, and you can also be in the program as a speaker and not be paid there. So I don't know why. What's really the problem? But yeah, there's a stage where purpose can pay the bills. Yeah.
So, but I think we have to fix this issue of other speakers not being paid. Are they not in their purpose? Why are they not getting paid? Does it show that they are not in their purpose? They're just speaking, Jay. They are not in their purpose.
They are in their purpose, just that maybe people haven't seen that value in them to be able to pay for what they are doing.
Okay. So who must make sure that people see the value? Is it me who must make sure that?
Yes.
How can I make people to see that?
Prepare yourself to an extent that people cannot just hire you for free.
And I think maybe you too must also change the mindset. You must also see that value in you, that you're not you're not for donation or for charity.
Hello.
All right. Now let us talk about the disadvantage. I mean, you said if a pencil does not do its purpose, it makes the ruler, the rubber, and the paper useless. And
It will be empty. Yeah.
So, what is the disadvantage of one not doing his purpose, his or her purpose?
You are putting the whole generation on hold. Say, for example, you are Moses. The reason Moses was born is because the people of Israel were crying to God because of the slavery that they were in. So God released an answer through someone whom was Moses. And him being born, he was supposed to set the Israelites free from Egypt. So if Moses does not respond to his purpose, Israel is suffering because one man is not saying yes to the God-given purpose. So just think of the fact that when you are not doing what you are supposed to be doing, someone is suffering because of you not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I mean, sometimes you'll find out there are people who will never get job in their lives because they haven't started the company. Yes. So it's really, really important that one must follow the purpose.
It is. And again, when you are on your route to purpose or pushing your way to purpose, do not be discouraged by the number of the audience. There was one man who organized a very powerful revival, and say maybe a 10,000 seater tent, but there was one man who was in attendance. And that one man was Reinhard Bonke. He's the one who received Christ that day, and the preacher was so disappointed. God, how can I spend my money just for one man? But this guy did not know that within the man Reinhard Bonke, there are people who are going to be because of that life. So we shouldn't measure progress by the number of people. You can find that even if you are mentoring 2 people or 3 people, within those 3 people, there are nations locked in there. So you shouldn't be discouraged that, no, I came as a speaker and there were 4 people. Within those 4 people, there could be 4 million people. So do your best to give them the message, the content that you are supposed to give them. Hello.
Now, let's talk about the issue of, I mean, I once actually saw it on your social media. You guys were talking about it. May show the preacher. The question was, must the preachers be paid for speaking as they are actually speaking the word of God? Must they get paid for that?
Okay, no. To preach the word of God, no. I don't feel like you have to force people to pay you, because what you are preaching is the word, and that's what you are called to do. God has instructed you to freely give what he has given you. So if they decide to pay you, then we bless the Lord. If they don't have anything to pay you, you shouldn't say, I cannot come and preach at your church because you won't give me anything. No, that's not right. It's not right, because that the enemy can use to silence you. If you put a price tag on you and say, no, I'm worth maybe 5,000, and you find the church cannot afford that, so you won't preach the gospel because they don't have 5,000 to pay you. Whom are you serving? If you are serving God, you'll understand that it's his work. He will provide for you. You are just going to give them the message.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful encouragement. Now, maybe your last words. Someone is watching this program and is sitting there not knowing their purpose in this life. What can you just say as an encouragement to such people?
What I can say to him or her is that The reason that you are born on this world is enough sign that there's purpose on the inside of you. Your voice print is unique, your fingerprint is unique, maybe even your name is unique. Maybe it might not be that unique. But there's always that one thing that you alone have. Let me give you an example. I don't know if you know this movie, Cinderella.
Yes.
I love that movie. What's funny is that she lost a shoe, one shoe. I'm not sure whether it was size 5 or size 6. But I'm asking myself, are you saying the whole village, there was no one wearing size 5 or size 6? No. But there was that one thing special about Cinderella that says this is only for Cinderella. So even with you, you can have similarities with other people. You can be a speaker. We can all be speakers, but you won't speak like me, and I won't speak like you, because the way I speak is determined by how I think, and how I think is determined by the knowledge that I seek after, the information that I seek after. So you can never grow beyond what you put in your mind. And I always say, if you are a speaker, if you stop feeding your mind, you'll soon run out of what to say. If you speak for God and you stop speaking to God, you will soon run out of what to say. So you have to continue refilling yourself. A broken vessel will only be full when it stays under a running tap. We have to connect ourselves to God. If you are wandering out there and saying, I don't know, what am I good at? What can I do? I cannot do? Go to God, ask God. God will reveal it to you. It might take time. It might take you serving maybe a church. That's when you'll discover who you are. Or maybe serve your community. Or maybe discover the area of pain. The only thing that you don't like to see in your communities. It could be a sign that that's the thing that God wants you to fix in your community.
And feeding up your mind, I think it comes to your statement that says the books that you read determines the bookings that you have.
Yes. Because people will hear you speaking, the content that you have fed your mind with, and they'll be like, no, for our next show, we need such kind of a speaker.
And the very last one. I know I said the last one, but the very last one.
Yes.
Your statement. Can you please just say that favorite statement of yours? and then you elaborate it. Then we are done.
Which one?
The one of the amplified voice, the invoice, something like that.
Oh, I said an amplified voice will give you an amplified invoice. This was inspired by the fact that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is extra. So you have to do extra work. You have to spend an extra hour more than other people, read an extra chapter, go an extra mile, do something that others are not doing for you to be different. Someone said, if you want to say what others are not saying, it means you must not read the same books that they are reading. Even the content must be different. And I said, a magnetized ion can carry up to 12 times of its own size. It is magnetized, there's a magnetic force. Yeah. But a demagnetized ion cannot even attract a feather.
Oh. Hello.
So it's the same metal, but the one is magnetized, the other one is not magnetized. Yeah. So develop yourself to be able to carry 12 times of your own size.
Mixo Rikhotso, the preacher.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to the show.
And
we are really blessed. We are really encouraged and inspired.
Thank you
so
much.
All the best for your journey.
Thank you.
And I believe that lives will be changed.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mixo Rikhotso, the preacher. Thank you so much for watching Inspired Conversations, Living the Legacy with Legends. My name is Onkarabile Wisdom Mokoto, and I'm saying to you, let's meet same time, same place on Global Conference TV. The journey continues.